Open the eyes of their heart, Lord. They want to see you. They want to see you high and lifted up, all of your glory. I don't know if people understand what the glory of God is. There are places in the Bible where God says, and fear fell upon them all, and great glory was to God. It says so in Revelation, where glory fell upon Paul the Apostle when he was blinded, when Jesus knocked him off his horse. Glory appeared to Moses with the burning bush. Glory, glory, glory. Glory appeared to me with his tremendous power that was so powerfully strong that I marveled that I was still alive. Glory appeared to me when he came through the wall and touched me and healed me instantly. Oh, how we wish and how we would love to have God do the things that we think we need, that we think that we cannot bear or live without if we don't have it our way. Oh, how we would love to satisfy our flesh and have what we want. Oh, I didn't know what I would face tomorrow if my daughter would have been raised. I don't know what I would have gone through or not. It didn't matter. All I wanted was my daughter. But you see, thank God, He knows better than us all. Thank God that He is God. He's the one that makes all the decisions. Death and hell does not belong in the hands of Satan. The keys to death and hell belong in the hands of Jesus Christ, of God. They belong in the hands of God, and only He can make those decisions. This is why it is so important for us to keep our hearts constantly watched after, constantly in the place of love. For love covers a multitude of sins. Love can cover it all. Loving God can cover everything. Not just saying that you love Him, but going before Him. You know, you can't fool Him. That's the wonderful thing about God. He cannot be fooled. Blessed be His name. And if you think I didn't try to fool Him, you'd be wrong many a times. You know, I've always said a little girl, from the time she's born, the one thing she learns is how to manipulate, and especially how to manipulate daddy. I mean, I didn't have that privilege for very long, uh, because when I was a baby, I was daddy's girl. And then I found out how bad things were in the home for my mom. But you know, we are all daddy's girl. We are all brother or sister to Jesus Christ. We are all blessed. We must draw on those blessings. We must look forward to what the King has for us, to what He will do for us. Oh, I know. At times it seems like He's not answering. But you have access to the throne to find out why. You have the power to go before Him and say, "Why, Lord? What am I doing wrong? that I'm not lined up to the blessings that you promised me. You see, a lot of people go in a different direction. They go in the direction of saying, well, you weren't there. Why? I did that. It's in my book. I mean, I was angry. If I didn't get what I wanted, I got angry at God. But you see, God looked beyond my faults and he saw my needs. And he would tell me through the years, Marion, I know why you do this. This happened to you, and it's like a scar on your whole life. And it's the wound for what you've been through runs so deep that there's nothing that you can do or say that is going to cause me to turn away from you. Because I understand you are a human being and you love me more than any human being could love me during a time where it was impossible in your life to still love me. And this is the kind of way he talks to me, and this is the way he'll talk to you. Just let him. And he would say things like, I will never forget the time when you suffered so bad and you looked up and you trusted me. I will never forget. It's written in heaven. How beautiful and how wonderful it is to have a child to love you that much. Oh, please, please believe me. When you're going through something, that's what he's saying to you. He doesn't have it just for Marion Lynch. He has it for you. He's watching your love. He's watching your striving towards him. He's watching everything. And he knows the pain. He knows the pain can run so deep. The scars to the thoughts and the feelings in the mind. And if you give them to him, I sang all day yesterday a song. I'm trading my sorrows and I'm trading my pain and I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. That's what he talks about. Lay them down. Trade them. Trade for the joy. Because joy does come in the morning. Each one of you have a morning. And when you wake up, all of life will seem differently because you have that joy in the morning. I remember listening to the angels sing whenever the Lord told me my daughter was going to pass away the next morning. And I heard the angels singing, when I die, hallelujah, by and by. And I could hear them singing in the morning. Those are things that will bring you greater joy than any pleasure on earth, than any pleasure anywhere. There's time. It's time for some of you right now. Right now, it's time for some of you to come out of feeling so bad and having such a hard time. It's time right now for some of you to come out of those scars and those wounds. Like a wounded soldier. Those scars, my goodness, they ran deep, deep to the heart, deep to the mind, deep to every atom of your being, of the pain and the anguish that you suffered. But joy, it comes in the morning. You just prostrate yourself before him, whether it's on your bed or whatever, and you just give it to him. And you just say, Lord, this is more than I can bear. Only you can handle it. And do not get up until you feel his presence tell you, yes, I know. I'm the only one that can handle it. Yes, I know. For I love you. Remember, he loved you so much that Jesus died for you. What a price that he paid in giving his life to be able to have a love relationship with you. Man was created for that relationship. He wanted somebody that was just like him to communicate with. He had it all planned that you would live forever. He had it all planned that he would walk and talk with you in the garden. And when sin came and brought death, he made sure that the enemy could not keep you. He made sure by sending us Jesus Christ. He made sure that you could get into heaven through Jesus Christ. It's not a matter of you being worthy of heaven, because no one is. It's not a matter, he says in the word, to ask God to make you worthy and being worthy of the blessings that are to come. And you say, well, there's not much hope in this earth. But you see, you don't have to have your eyes on Satan. You don't have to have your eyes on what he's doing. You don't have to have your eyes on where he's going. You don't have to have your eyes on that at all. Just look at Jesus and that profound love. Just look at him and let him love you. Keep your eyes on him. Oh, the flesh dies hard. It hurts. It really hurts sometimes. But oh, there comes an end. I can't count how many times with me that as time went on and I went after trauma after trauma after trauma. And finally, after 30, 40 years, I would finally throw my hands up in the air and say, oh God, I quit. I'm tired. I'm old. It was too much for me. I can't take it anymore. If one more bad thing happens to me, I don't know what I'll do. So I'm not going on anymore. I'm done. How he must have laughed because he knew I was not going to do that. Oh, he has a sense of humor, a good one. I just know he laughed. And I would just, oh, it was just devastating to me because he knew he could see right ahead. And I'd go to bed in absolute despair. And I'd tell him, you didn't answer me. You're not helping me. I'm continuing on the same trip as I've always been on. And that is pain, pain, pain. And I'm tired of it. I'm old. Could you imagine? I would look up at heaven and say, can't you see I'm old? I mean, it was just like, oh, God, aren't you looking? But in my heart, I knew he was looking. And in my heart, I knew. But I think he enjoyed that. That's at least honest. And I would say, can't you see I'm tired? I'm done in. There's never anybody to help me. There's never anybody to care. There's never anybody anywhere who would ever reach out to me to help me. I've been all alone and with you, and God, I'm tired. And he would not say a word. But I'm sure he was laughing. And I'd lay my head on that pillow and I'd pass out and I'd wake up in the morning and I would do what I always did. I would serve him the way I always did. I would think the way I always did. And I know he was laughing because he knew I was at the end of my rope. But being at the end of my rope, he knew joy comes in the morning. And boy, there would be the answer. After I'd thrown my hands up in the air, and I was absolutely done, spent completely, there was that joy. Something would always happen to bring me to that place. To know I didn't even have to ask for forgiveness for being human. To know that I was so human that I would go through that and know that this is the way it is. His love was far beyond that. His love was far beyond anything I could say or do. That's the way he is. If I could take a picture of God and share it with you and show it to you, the way he is in your life is the way he is in my life. So you can say whatever you want, that this is all about me, but it isn't. It's about you seeing for real. He's real. It's about you understanding how real he is for you, not for me. I don't believe a lot of things I've been through were ever for me. They were so that I could come and tell you and share with you, that you could see him as he is. You could see that he has such a great sense of humor. There were times when I would preach and talk to people and give my testimony. And I'm telling you, I would laugh from beginning to end because I couldn't stop laughing. I was telling them about these terrible tragedies, but in my heart, the joy was so great, I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing because of what God must have gone through to watch me. Just think about the people that you think have hurt you. Just think how wonderful it would be if you could have enough love inside of you that it could make such a difference that it would make them begin to think. You see, that's what causes them to begin to think. For a man knows when he's wrong. He knows when he does wrong. And he knows he deserves the worst. And he can handle you being rotten. He can. He can handle you being mean, being cruel. He could look at you and he looks at you and you know what he's thinking? Say that, she's just like me. She's no different. Oh, she claims to be a Christian, but no way. Christians don't act like that. So you lose your temper and you tell them off. And you get to a place where you think you're the corrector of the world and you are going to tell them off. You think that'll get him. Or you might think of ways where you want to grip his understanding. I can remember thinking, uh, I got to try something new. I can't give him the same old, same old. He needs woken up, so I'm gonna wake him up. And I try something completely new. Never worked. God knew it would never work. It never worked. The only thing that ever worked on his heart was love. When he was filled with the most pain and anguish, and filled with the most hatred and the most horrible things that he would say because he was sure he was going to hell. When he would do that, I would go up behind him and I would put my arms around him and on his back and lock my fingers where he couldn't get away. And I'm telling you, when you're going to laugh at me, but when he was his meanest and his cruelest, I would do that. And at first, he would just shove me away and he just mad and everything you did just mad and got angrier and angrier, thinking that if he really got angry, and I would learn. But you see, the man was no match for love. No match for real love. Agape love. He was no match for it. So, so the next time he got angry and he started telling me off, I would go up behind him. I would sneak up very quietly because if he saw me coming, he would run. And I'd grab a hold of him and I'd hug him. I would just hang on to him, hugging him no matter what he said, no matter what he did. I just hugged him. We got to a place where we teased a lot because when he started, he lost his temper and he would get bad. And I'd look at him real serious and say, "Oh boy, you know what's coming. You know that you can't do that in this house." And I would go up to him and put my arms around him. And he would be in that moment of anger and all that other stuff. And I would put my arms around him and hang on to him. And I'll say, "You are going to take your punishment. That's it." And his punishment was love. Slowly, slowly, he came around to enjoy that love. Slowly, he began to believe that I truly loved him. And then no matter what bad he thought he deserved, I wasn't in agreement with it. No matter how wrong he thought he was, that he had sealed his path to hell, is what he thought. I wasn't in agreement with it. My agreement was, you're going to heaven with me whether you like it or not. I just had to share that with you. That it was so marvelous of the wisdom that God can give you. And I know some of you will say, well, I can't do that with mine because he this and he that. Well, mine was so filled with anger and hatred for the truth, actually, that sometimes when he passed by me, he would shove me. It wouldn't be, excuse me. Now he doesn't dare do that because he has found out I sincerely love him. That's what he needed. In spite of it all, if he would have slapped me, which he never has, I don't know. I may have gotten back up and still hugged him. I don't know. Of course, so there was a time where I probably would have killed him, but that was before I got saved. But I just wanted to give you that little example of an interaction with someone that hates himself so bad, is positive, and we could stand there and say, you're mean, you're rotten, you're cruel. I could have done that. As a matter of fact, for a little time, I did. And God woke me up and said, hey, what are you doing? You're cursing him and it's coming back on you. You wonder why you suffer so bad? There he is. He doesn't have God or know God like you do. And you're expecting him to act like you? You're expecting him to think like you? And you're angry because he can't? You're upset because it's not in him? He doesn't have it? And he's looking at you like, I can never be like that. She's too holy. She's too righteous. I can't live like that. And you're looking at him like, you are a dirty dog. You really are bad. And something's going to have to give. And it ain't going to be me because I'm holy. I'm righteous. I know better. And God had to take a hold of me and set me down and say, now, Marion, listen to me. He's as much a victim in life as you are. He is went through things that you can't even understand because he went through them as a man. And therefore you can't understand them. You're a woman. And he says, and because of that, the pain for him is so great. He can't see anything else, and you're in the way. He cannot see me because you're in the way. All he could see is what you're thinking and feeling. So you feel he's mean, he feels he's mean. You feel he's rotten, he feels he's rotten. He looks at you and you think you're right, he feels you're right. You look at him and you think that you're the only one between you serving God and has God. He looks at you and thinks you're the only one that has God and is serving God. That's your reflection. And because of that, he then also takes it to his heart and says, well, I'm going to hell. And because I'm going to hell, I might as well do everything I can because why bother? Now, there are criminals that think that way. They get caught in a burglary or they get caught with something else, and it's not really real bad what they've done yet. But they say, I'm going to jail. So if I'm going to jail, I might as well go to jail for a reason. If I'm going to suffer, then I might as well go all the way. And sometimes they wind up killing people. But these are the reasonings of man. Now, I could have sat down and looked at him, and I could have said, he's narcissistic, he's this. But when I saw that narcissism on videos, when I saw psychology and how it teaches and preaches, I wouldn't delve into that garbage because that's none of that is godly. I wouldn't pattern myself and my thoughts over that. I searched out only God. And I knew one thing, that if anything was going to ever win this man, it was going to win him through love. That is what he needed, even if he didn't know it. That was what he needed more than anything. Because he is only the way he is because he's positive he's no good and he hurts and hates himself. Because the scripture is true. It says, love your wives as you do your own body, and no man ever hated himself. But you see, these men do. They hate themselves because they cannot be like you, and they know it. But the wonderful thing about it is, God don't want him like you. When you look at him, you don't want that man to be like you. The woman that wants to change a man into the psychology of a woman is crazy. The woman that wants to take a man and change him into the way she thinks and the way she feels is nuts. I'll tell it to you straight. She's crazy. Because number one, God doesn't want that. God wanted this man to be saved and all the good things about him that I married. All of those wonderful things. I mean, when I looked up to him, I loved the Marine part of him that helped him to understand how to ignore pain, how to be so strong. I loved that of him. And, and before I got saved, I was doing the best I could to destroy that. What I really loved, I was trying everything to destroy that. That's why I say to some women that if God did send you a good man, you'd destroy him. Because this, to me, I was 19 or 20 years old. And to me, he was the first man I ever met. I had so many guys chasing me. I was young. And many wanted to marry me. I didn't. I had my choice. I had my choice with many calling up and begging my parents not to let me marry this one. So I had a lot of choices. Not that I deserved them, but I had them. And here I chose him. And all the things I loved about him, I was trying to destroy unknowingly. They became the things that I hated because I was so selfish in the flesh. Well, here he is today, and he is everything that I ever wanted in a man. He retained who he is, and the kindness and the gentleness that comes out of him now, it only came from God. It only came from God. And I'm positive with all my heart this man loves me. He's going to be 85 years old next month. And he's still such a man. Sure, he has a lot of physical problems. But when I look at him, I am blessed because I married a real man. I could have taken all of that away. I could have destroyed all of that. How? By not loving him the way he needed to be loved. And it took God to teach me that. I didn't hear it from behind a pulpit. I didn't hear it from other people. I heard it from God speaking to me daily, correcting me. I got close enough to God that I could hear him say, "That's not the way to go, Marion." He didn't smack me over the head and say, "Wake up. How could you be so stupid?" He didn't do that. God don't treat you that way. He would get my attention and he'd say, "Marion, this is what he needs today. Be sure. Be sure that you treat him kindly. Remember, what you do can determine where he goes." So I labored hard to die to self, to make sure that when I'm around him, that I wasn't thinking about, well, he's not doing this for me and he don't think that and he don't like me and he don't. That's crazy. That's all flesh. That's why people get a divorce, because there's no love there. Love goes beyond your faults and sees your needs. When I walk through the hall and go into the living room, his chair is sitting there, and I can see his head, and I go and I kiss the top of his head because I can't help myself but love him. I can't be any other way, for that is the way God taught me. And this is what we all need. We need to be in that place of love. And it begins with Jesus Christ, of knowing that Jesus Christ died for us and loved us so much, he went and looked far beyond our faults and saw our needs. We must do that for every soul in our life. But I have to tell you, you do not turn the other cheek when it comes to people in this nation that are destroying and killing others and raping and murdering. That's not what God was talking about. God was not talking about you turning the other cheek and helping them. Oh, when you let them go and you don't pray for God to bring conviction and destroy that evil, you're letting them go. You're becoming partaker of what they're doing. If you don't stand up for what is right, there's a lot of babies in the balance. There's a lot of children. My goodness, changing their gender, double mastectomies. It's mutilation. I mean, it's horrible what they're doing. And you're going to support this? And all you got to do is get in the voting booth and support it by writing in a name that it's okay. This is what they do. Well, that's just a bunch of garbage. That's propaganda. I got news for you. The propaganda is the ones that are saying it's not being done. Because if you had even a little bit of God, you'd wake up with the nightmare and agony of how God feels about what's happening to those babies. You would wake up screaming like I did, because you would know that it is going on for real. Instead of pushing it aside and say, no, 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 that's not real. This is what's happening, what the propaganda tells you. No, no. The most evil of evils is happening in this nation to children. And God tells you clearly how he feels about children. He named you a child of God. He didn't name you an adult. He named you a child. And when you make decisions to support those that literally do the things that they do. I talked to that little 7-year-old yesterday, and I was shocked. She's in second grade, and they haven't taught her how to read. Second grade, they haven't taught her how to write. My babies in kindergarten knew how to read the King James Version of the Bible and understand it. Their parents would work with them. Hey, every good child had a good parent. Every bad child had a bad parent. Because the children are never bad. It comes from the parents, of what they allowed to happen. The day of dumping your child off in school as a babysitter so you could go on and live your life and enjoy your life. Who cares what happens to your child? Who cares what they teach them? You should be making it your business, if you have children and grandchildren, what they are teaching in school. If you physically are able to get out there and find out, go find out. Start praying on your knees with all your heart, because that child belongs to Jesus Christ. If you belong to Jesus, that child is God's grandchild. And you're going to answer for letting it go, for never praying, for never caring. You're going to answer because you've been too busy with this and too busy with that. I'm only putting out a warning there because you need it. Most of all, those babies need it. Oh my goodness. How anybody could harm such beautiful little children. I will never understand it. How anybody could be around little children and not have the joy of seeing the creation of God. I don't understand it. Well, I enjoyed this little talk of sharing some of the things that we had gone through. We made up our minds. We do not talk about yesterday in our home. We don't. Because if you talk about yesterday, what happens is you'll say, well, you always, and you always said, and you always did, and you never stopped, that's stupid. It really is. That's not very wise at all. You get nowhere. You wind up like this in a fight. So we have peace in our home. If one goes beyond that and begins to get upset about something, the other one says, we're not going there. We're not going there. We're going to keep peace here between us. You see, we're old enough to be friends. We need to be friends. I mean, think about it. Who do you have that's going to take care of you? At your age or whatever, when you get a little bit older and you need some help with your body and you need to go to the doctors, who's going to take you? Is that man that you think is so terrible? Isn't he the one that takes you? Who's going to care about what the test results are? Who's going to care about your doctor's appointments? Do you realize how blessed I've been? My husband he was more physically able. He took care of all of my doctor's appointments. He took care of all of my medication. He took care of me everywhere with open heart surgery. With anything that I went through, he was the one that took care of me. He was the one that exhausted himself and sat in the hospital with me, and that I had to chase him home because I could not bear him exhausting himself because he was not well. And there he was, half killing himself, trying to take care of me, trying to come and see me every day. A man can say to you all kinds of things, but it's what he does that's important. And he pulled me through lupus. If God did not have him to be able to take care of me, if he would have upped and left me because it was so bad, if I didn't have him, I'd be dead. He pulled me through open heart surgery. He pulled me through that gunshot wound to the belly wound. He took care of me. He fed me. He did everything. I mean, this is a big Marine, and a very handsome one, I might add. And yet, he was always there. Now, is yours always there? Because if he is, that means he loves you. And that means that you must do a better job in loving him. Because when you wind up like this, something's wrong. If you can't come to an agreement of understanding, it was the day the man realized that I truly loved him. See, he couldn't believe it up to then. He couldn't believe anybody loved him, much less God. But like God said, we are strategically placed. He put us there for a reason. How do you know that you can't be used to save your husband? He said, our husbands are sanctified by our faith. Sanctified means set apart to be made holy. But if you're fighting for the desires and wants of the flesh because you have to have this, or he said that, or that's all silly. That's all wrong. It all means nothing. What means something is, are you going to help him get into heaven by dying to yourself? Are you going to let Jesus and Christ in you live so that he can be loved and saved?